As AI takes over jobs, women workers may have the most to lose. If the automation revolution is as bad as some researchers believe, almost half of all occupations in the US are at risk of replacement by 2026. Truck drivers will, as it rages, the automation debate has tended to center on men because they dominate in many of the low-wage occupations that are at a high and high-profile risk of replacement, like driving and factory work. But according to Relief in the U.S. labor market, women are overrepresented in other high-risk occupations that involve routine data work easily disrupted by AI, like secretaries, administrative assistants, receptionists, and information clerks. They're also overrepresented. While women make up only half of the labor force, researchers found that they make up 58% of the workers at the highest risk of automation. Among them, some of IWPR's figures square with a released in January 2018, which used Bureau of Labor Statistics BLS data to find that women will hold 57% of the jobs likely to be disrupted by automation. But the IW, from a point of view of developing policies that reduce the threat of economic destruction of technological change and maximize the potential benefits, if you don't look at gender or don't have a gender-specific analysis, you're likely to come up with policy that doesn't work very well. Arian Hegwish, who co-authored the report with Chandra Childers and Heidi Hartman, told CityLab. In conducting this analysis, IWPR wanted to chart whether we are building on gains toward greater equality or cementing inequality for generations of workers to come, said economist and IWPR President Hartman in a press release. What we found were related video. Should Americans fear automation? Provided by Fox. Examining trends in the U.S. labor market through this binary is valuable, IWPR argues, because many occupations are already extremely gender segregated. Of the top occupations for men, women only represent 25% of the workers. And vice versa. Still, few past automation studies have used gender as a lens. Take Frey and Oswald. When focusing only on the jobs with the highest risk of automation, IWPR found that 20.2 million women work them, compared to only 14.4 million men. And of all women of each race and ethnicity are more likely to work in high-risk occupations than men of the same race or ethnicity, the study found. But technological automation could also put a bigger dent in women's paychecks than men's. While the high risk, it's partly because women's earnings distribution is more bunched up, said Hegwish, meaning women have fewer high-paid jobs in their most common occupations than men. Dow 3 of the top 20 occupations held by men pay a median of $80,000 a year, while none of women's top 20 jobs do. But it's also, for men, you have good middle-skill jobs in construction, and as technicians, said Hegwish. Many of those jobs, women who don't gain digital skills don't have as many options. Even those who do, there's been some progress in the tech sphere. While the share of women in the 3 highest paid tech jobs has gone down, the number of women of color has increased. Still, IT jobs or STEM jobs are only 5 to 10% of the workforce, said Hegwish. But they have a huge impact. If you don't have diverse voices at the table or on the design team, you come up with skewed results, said Hegwish. Of course, a certain degree of automation has already changed the nature of many women's jobs. During the IT rep, and technological change has already opened up other options even as it takes some away. The gig economies, like their roles in the traditional labor force, however, women and men tend to be segregated in the kinds of gig work they do. Men are still more likely to be ride-hail drivers, and women are more likely to participate in online entrepreneurship and platform-based domestic work. And for women, it's not that policymakers and employers are blind to these realities. All the worry about automation has driven many to think about how to create a more resilient workforce, says Hegwish. It's just that much as women fall further behind in terms of gender parity and upward economic mobility, and we design policies that try to buffer the fall for men and improve their ability to do jobs for the future, Molly Kinder, a researcher at New America, told Axios. But we don't do this. Many of the proposed solutions involve lifelong learning programs, or workforce development initiatives. But women are also Looking beyond any gender binaries, Hegwish says, preparing for automation needs to include the voices of workers. Marriott Hotel.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.